Alright guys, I'm the NFL Addict, and today I will be making my NFL prediction for the 2021 Arizona Cardinals. This is the last team I have to do before we move on to playoff predictions. Then I'm going to redo a couple teams that have changed drastically since I started doing predictions, and then, well, I'll start making other types of videos. And before we get started, talk about the Cardinals. Make sure, like and subscribe. If you like NFL content here on YouTube, then you'll like my channel. Post this kind of stuff all year round. All right, so the Cardinals went out this offseason, and they got J.J. Watt, A.J. Green, two great defensive, not the great defensive, but great veteran players. A.J. Green, he's had some injury issues, and he hasn't been, as good. He's definitely on a decline, but I definitely think he is a great addition and helps this offense flourish even more. And then they went out and they drafted Zaven Collins, who I don't think was the best one available, but I definitely think was a very, very good pick, and I like this Arizona defense even more now. This defense last year wasn't all that great. It didn't look spectacular, but now they've added J.J. Watt, Zaven Collins. They kept Chandler Jones, and then sorry, I forgot how to speak English. In the secondary, you've got Budda Baker, you've got Malcolm Butler, who hasn't been spectacular, but has definitely shown, some good parts. And then on offense, obviously the biggest thing is this passing game. You have Kyler Murray, who's had a pretty good start to his career, not, spectacular. He hasn't been absolutely amazing, but he definitely has been one of the better rookies we've seen in a long time. And obviously you've got DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green, Christian Kirk. I really like what this Cardinals offense has to offer, especially with the passing game. The rushing game, Chase Edmonds and James Conner, they're an all right running back duo. Probably by themselves, they're not great, but when you add them together, they definitely are a pretty good running game. So I like this offense better, like this defense, and I like this defense. It's just the fact that they're kind of on the brink of the playoffs every year, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that they are probably in the best division in football right now. And so they have 6 rough games, like 6 really tough games automatically. But in week 1, they have an away game against the Tennessee Titans, who lost Adam Humphries, they lost Corey Davis, they lost Jonnu Smith, but then they replaced all of those with one of the best. A lot of people say that he is the best wide receivers in the league, or wide receiver, depending on whatever you're thinking that he is. And that is Julio Jones. They got him from the Falcons for way less than he's probably worth. I know he's getting up there in age, but he's not really slowed down all that much. He's not as good as he once was, but he is still out there performing. And now you've got one of the best wide receivers in the league. Then you have A.J. Brown, who was probably up there. A lot of people would have him in the top 10. I think maybe top 15. And you have the best running back in the league, in my opinion, Derrick Henry. I don't think the Cardinals are good enough to stop Tennessee just yet, and Tennessee's going to get the win here in week 1. But Arizona, starting off 0-1, starting off the season in an away game is always tough because you got a lot of, for the other team, you've got a lot of people there who are just there to see the opening day Tennessee Titans, and yeah, it's always rough. But in week 2, they have a home game against the Minnesota Vikings, their first I don't know how to say it. This is their first NFC opponent. I like to just point out things like that. And that is Minnesota. I don't much care for this Minnesota defense. I know they added some pieces. I know they helped up that secondary a lot. I still don't like it enough to go up against this Arizona offense. And Arizona gets their first win of the season, and they get their first win at home, which their first home game, you thought they're going to win. It feels great. The first home game is always, you kind of have to win that. In week 3, they're going against the worst team in the league. I don't think I have to say much. Arizona is not going to lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm sorry, that's just no. All right, so start off the season, they're 2-1. They have 3 straight really tough games here, though. 2 straight divisional games, an away game against the L.A. Rams. And the Rams, one of the best defenses in football, and they added Deshaun Jackson, completely upgraded at quarterback with Matthew Stafford over Jared Goff. I take Matthew Stafford over Jared Goff any day, and L.A. is going to get the win here. So they fall back down to .500, but they have a home divisional game against the San Francisco 49ers, the fully healthy San Francisco 49ers, and it's still going to be a tough one. The 49ers are so good on offense. I like the San Francisco defense way better than like this Arizona defense. Sorry. I like the San Francisco offense more like this Arizona defense. I feel like San Francisco, I just like them over Arizona. They're probably going to get the sweep. Arizona's going to have a tough time in this division. Any other division, if you put Arizona in the AFC South, they're making the playoffs. NFC West, though, it's tough. And then in week 6, they have an away game against the Cleveland Browns, and the Browns probably are Super Bowl contenders at this point. They have such a good defense, and adding so much to the secondary this offseason is going to help them a lot, and then their offense has been stellar for a while. Cleveland's going to get the win here. So now they're 2-4. It's not looking great. When you're in a division as good as the NFC West, going 2-4 isn't really acceptable. But in Week 7, they have a home game against the Houston Texans, who, in my opinion, aren't really that good at all. And I'm going to give Arizona the win here. So now they're 3-4. They're 1 away from .500 and getting right back into that playoff race. But, however, in Week 8, they have a home game against the Green Bay Packers. They are Aaron Rodgers. They do have Jordan Love. But I think, spending his rookie year sitting behind one of the best quarterbacks ever in NFL history in Aaron Rodgers, definitely going to help Jordan Love out a lot. Their defense is a bit iffy, but this Green Bay offense is just too good for me to say they're going to lose to Arizona right now. And then, like I already said, they're going to get swept by San Francisco, in my opinion. So now they're 3-6. It's not looking too good. They're 2 weeks away from their bye week, and they need it badly. So in Week 10, they have a home game against Carolina, who I actually like the Sam Darnold trade. I feel like he's going to be a bit of an upgrade from Terry Bridgewater. I don't think it's by much, but I definitely think he's a bit of an upgrade. And DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Christian McCaffrey, this offense is a bit underrated. However, this defense is pretty bad. They have a lot of young guys. They drafted a whole lot of rookies last year for their defense. They spent all 7 other picks last year on defense. So if those guys can take a second-year step, then maybe we could see this game go in Carolina's favor. But I can't see Arizona losing here. And Arizona is going to get the win in Week 10. All right, their first game against the Seahawks. It's an away game in Seattle. That defense, especially that front 7, has been so good for so long. And that offense, Russell Wilson's probably still a top 5 QB. DK Metcalf is just out there demolishing kids. Other players, I don't know. Seattle is going to get the win here. So they enter their bye week at 4-7. But that was definitely the toughest part of their schedule. That first bit was really tough. It may have been 11 weeks, but definitely the second part of their season is definitely going to be a lot easier because in Week 13 they have an away game against the Chicago Bears, and the Bears, adding Justin Fields is not going to solve all of your problems. I feel like, and getting rid of Kyle Fuller to sign a backup QB doesn't help either. Arizona is going to get the win here. They're going to split with LA. And then in Week 15, they have an away game against the Detroit Lions, who lost Kenny Golladay. They lost Matthew Stafford. That offense is now so much worse now, even with the addition of Penei Sewell. They're not going to come close to beating a team like Arizona. And now, finally, they go 3-0 after their bye week. Now they're back to .500. They're back to, they're back into it. They went 4-7. They were falling out of things. People are talking about how, wow, they went, they had such a good past couple of years, and now they're completely falling apart. But now they're 7-7. They've got probably their toughest post-bye week game other than the LA Rams, and that is the Indianapolis Colts, who have a really good defense. They have a pretty solid a wide receiver unit, even though they didn't get a wide receiver to go with T.Y. Hilton. Re-signing T.Y. Hilton was definitely a good deal. I don't quite like Carson Wentz, but I think they've got enough on that defense to get them past Arizona, as Arizona is going to fall back below .500. However, they have an away game against the Dallas Cowboys, who signed Dak, helped their secondary out a lot, did not help the biggest issue, which was that offensive line. Going against this tough front 7 with Arizona, Dallas isn't going to stand a chance. And they're going to split with Seattle. I'm sorry, I just can't see them being swept by any team other than the 49ers. So, at the end of the day, they end their season 5-1. They go 9-8. And they're going to miss the playoffs, though. At least in my predictions, I don't have to hide anything now because I've already done every single one of these teams. But you can already see here, the last seed is an 11-6 team. A 10-7 team is out of the playoffs. So, yeah, Arizona, it's not looking too great. And, again, in their division, they're 2-4. So that means outside of their division, they went 7-4. They did really good. Look, all these teams they lost to are really tough teams. You got Tennessee, Cleveland, Green Bay, and Indianapolis. These are tough teams. Now let's go through worst case scenario to see how. Again, this is not slightly bad. This is as bad as I think that it can possibly get for the Arizona Cardinals. This roster that they've got. All right, so I'm gonna look at all the wins, and Carolina could win this one. I think that if this defense can take a bit of a step up, I think that they could have that. I think that LA and Seattle could sweep them. And that's as bad as I think it can possibly get. So if everything falls apart, if all the past couple of years of rebuilding completely collapses, I think that the absolute worst This is absolute worst case scenario, not just, pretty bad scenario. This is absolute worst case scenario. If you absolutely despise the Cardinals, then this is about as good as you're going to get, and that is 6-11. But again, don't think it's likely at all this happens. Now let's switch it back, and then we can do best case scenario. And that, on a good note, it's the same thing, but the opposite way. I could not possibly see them getting better than what I'm about to pick. All right, so now I'm going to go through all their losses, and let me see. I don't think they can beat Tennessee. Don't think they can sweep LA. I could see them beating an Aaron Rodgers-less Green Bay. Sorry. I can see them splitting with San Francisco too. And I could see them beating Indianapolis. So, with a tough division, I think that the absolute best that they can possibly do this season is 12-5, 7th seed in the playoffs. And it's kind of sad that they're going to go. If this happens, a 12-5 team could make the playoffs with an 11. I mean, that is just kind of sad. And again, even in this situation, they're 9-2 outside of their division. It's just that division is so tough. I cannot see them going any better than, splitting all of the teams. I'm sure, it's going to be different. Obviously, these aren't 100% going to happen. But, yeah. All right, let me move everything back to where it was. Indianapolis, back to 9-8. So, next week, not next week, as soon as I can, I'm going to be posting a video about my playoff prediction. Let me go ahead and pull that up. Not the video, whatever, but playoffs. If I go next, then boom. Next week, I won't just be doing a wild card round. I'll be doing all the rounds, so you get a little preview of some of the stuff you'll be seeing. So, I mean, and if you're, if you despise Seattle and you hate me for making y'all go 9-8, go watch this video because, maybe all three of these teams can't make the Super Bowl. So, yeah, thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked it. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there making y'all a lot worse than 9-8. And, 9-8 would be good enough to be up there in, near the playoffs in any other division. But, I mean, look, 9-8,